Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, today we're plunging into something that seems simple on the surface, but honestly holds the key to really transforming our financial lives. We're going to dissect those psychological blind spots, the ones that often mess up our financial growth, showing why even earning more can sometimes feel like you're just running in place. We're talking about that powerful, often overlooked truth that, well, true wealth, lasting abundance, it really does start in the mind way before it shows up in your bank account. Okay, let's unpack this. It's a really common struggle, isn't it? I mean, you can push harder, earn more, chase that promotion, maybe do side hustles till you're completely wiped out. But if your core money mindset is stuck in scarcity, that feeling deep down that there's just never quite enough, that cycle of stress, and frankly, struggle just keeps going. No matter how much your income might climb, you always feel like you're just a little behind, constantly playing catch up.
That's exactly it. And our mission, really, in this deep dive is to explore why. Why does simply chasing more money so often leave people feeling, well, perpetually broke, or at least constantly stressed out? We'll unpack what we call the scarcity trap. It's subtle, how it blocks genuine financial growth, often totally without us even realizing it's happening. And most importantly, we want to give you practical, actionable ways to actually shift into an abundance mindset, one that naturally starts attracting wealth and opportunity. This isn't just about, generic financial tips. It's about understanding not just what happens with your money, but why it matters, why it's so crucial for your overall financial well-being, and honestly, your peace of mind.
Okay, so let's start with maybe a bit of a hard truth, one that kind of flies in the face of what we're often taught about money. More money, just by itself, it doesn't fix bad money habits. Now, you might kind of push back on that initially, right? But just take a second. Think about why that might actually be true. Why doesn't a bigger number in your account automatically fix an underlying financial problem?
Well, it's because the underlying behavior, and maybe even more importantly, the mindset behind that behavior, it hasn't changed. Not one bit. We see this play out so dramatically in cases of sudden wealth. I mean, think about all those stories of lottery winners. Research, studies published in places like the Journal of Socioeconomics, they consistently show that a really significant percentage, sometimes it's as high as 70%, are broke again within just a few years. It's not a lack of money, obviously, that causes this collapse. It's a lack of developed systems, maybe some financial literacy, and definitely the discipline to handle significant wealth before it arrives. They just didn't have those foundational habits in place, to manage what they suddenly received. And that leads to what some psychologists even call sudden wealth syndrome, where the huge influx of cash actually makes pre-existing poor financial habits and decision-making even worse.
Wow, that 70% number is it's jarring, but it makes total sense when you lay it out like that. The foundation wasn't there. And what's really interesting, I think, is that this isn't just about lottery wins or sudden windfalls. Here's where it gets really interesting for most of us, I suspect. Even high earners, people making good money, they can fall into this really stealthy trap. It's called lifestyle creep. Someone making, let's say, $10,000 a month can still live paycheck to paycheck if their expenses just keep expanding, automatically expanding to meet or worse, exceed their income. We're talking that automatic upgrade, right? Bigger house, fancier car, suddenly you've got 10 streaming subscriptions you don't even watch. It's just generally inflating your standard of living without really thinking consciously about the future. It's like that classic hedonic treadmill thing in action, where buying more stuff only gives you a temporary buzz, and then you just want more, right? Doesn't actually boost happiness or security long term.
And that really is the critical insight here. The key to sustainable financial growth isn't just more income, it's management. Plain and simple, rooted in discipline and, like you said, conscious decision-making. You absolutely need essential systems. Systems that create financial discipline no matter what your income level is. They totally transform how you interact with money. So what does that look like? Well, it means consistently paying yourself first, making savings and investments a non-negotiable priority before any other bill gets paid. It means automating those savings and investments, so they just happen, without you needing to think about it, removing that friction of, oh, I should transfer that money. And crucially, it means intentionally living below your means, even as your income grows. You create that buffer, that surplus, that can then be strategically put to work. These aren't just rules, they're almost like psychological tools, you see, to help overcome that present bias, that urge to spend now, and build a more future-focused financial self. So what, for you, the listener, is pretty profound.
These systems ensure that when you do make more money, maybe your promotion, a side hustle takes off, an investment pays out, the habits are already locked in place to multiply it. This allows your wealth to grow sustainably, to compound over time, rather than just disappearing into uncontrolled spending or that lifestyle creep we talked about, or just a lack of planning. It turns earning more into this powerful accelerant for long-term security, not just a temporary bump that vanishes.
That's such a powerful distinction. Security isn't about the income ceiling, it's about the solid floor you build with those habits. It reminds me of that old saying, right? It's not what you make, but what you keep. Absolutely. And speaking of keeping, let's shift gears a bit from the external habits, the financial systems, to something maybe even more fundamental. The crucial role of your mindset itself. This is about moving beyond just what you do with money to what you actually believe about money deep down. It's where the real deep dive begins, I think.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating here is just how pervasive, how deeply ingrained scarcity thinking can be. Often it's totally subconscious, running in the background. It often sounds like these internal monologues, these beliefs like, oh, there's never enough money for me, or if they win, I lose, this idea that success is zero sum, or maybe I can't afford to take risks because I might lose the little bit I have. Now, scarcity thinking often feels protective, right? Like you're guarding your resources in an uncertain world. But actually, it's incredibly limiting. Psychologically, it narrows your focus. Researchers call it tunnel vision or cognitive tunneling. You become so preoccupied with the immediate lack, the deficit, that you literally neurologically overlook genuine opportunities for growth, for prosperity. It causes people to cling on tightly, to hesitate when new possibilities come up, and ultimately, to miss paths to financial freedom because they're just operating from this place of fear and perceived lack.
It sounds like scarcity thinking can be a really deep-seated habit then, almost like a default setting for a lot of us maybe, especially when the world often highlights what we don't have. So what's the immediate, maybe counterintuitive thought process or even the emotional shift someone might feel when they start moving towards what you call abundance thinking?
That's a great question because it really is a shift both in the internal dialogue and the emotional response. So on the other side, you've got abundance thinking, and it frames things completely differently. With empowering open-ended questions instead of those limiting statements. It prompts you to ask things like, okay, how can I create more value for others and then by extension for myself? Or what opportunities am I just not seeing yet? Maybe simply because I'm not looking for them in the right way. And maybe what's truly possible here if I just step forward even a little bit with confidence instead of holding back in fear. Now, this isn't about, ignoring reality or pretending challenges don't exist. Not at all. It's a fundamental reframing. It shifts your focus away from the perceived lack towards the potential for creation, for growth, for problem solving. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the shift from scarcity to abundance isn't some kind of magic trick, right? It's not wishful thinking that suddenly makes money appear. Instead, it's a fundamental change in perspective. It actually activates different points of your brain. It alters how you perceive reality.
It literally opens your eyes to growth and possibility instead of just making you focus on guarding what little you think you have. It influences your decisions, your willingness to learn new things, your ability to spot and then actually seize opportunities. It changes your whole outlook. Your outlook on resources, on opportunities, and crucially on your own capabilities, your own creative potential. It's an internal belief system that really empowers external action.
That's incredibly powerful. This idea of a perspective shift that isn't just about what you say, but how you fundamentally see the world around you. But let's get practical now. Because you might be listening and thinking, okay, yeah, I get the concepts, scarcity bad, abundance good, but how do you actually make that shift? What can I actually do to start cultivating an abundance mindset, maybe starting today? And that's exactly where we're going next. We've got some concrete, actionable steps you can try right away, regardless of where you're starting from financially.
Absolutely. And the good news is these aren't massive monumental tasks. They're small, consistent practices that actually help rewire your brain over time. So first, let's talk about a gratitude audit. Simple, but effective. Each night, maybe before you fall asleep, just make it a habit to list 3 things. They can be financial, personal, even something really simple like, I don't know, a warm cup of coffee this morning. 3 things you already have and you genuinely value. Now, the purpose here isn't just, feel-good sentiment. It's actually rooted in neuroscience. Gratitude primes your brain for abundance. It activates the brain's reward system, literally shifting your focus from what's lacking to what you possess. And doing this practice over time increases your ability to perceive and appreciate abundance all around you. Build a positive feedback loop. Okay, second, reframe not enough. This is more of a cognitive exercise, a mental habit to build. The next time you catch yourself thinking, ugh, I can't afford that, consciously pause. Just stop for a second and ask instead, okay, how can I create the resources to afford it? Or maybe, what steps could I take to make this a reality down the road? This tiny shift in language, it's incredibly powerful. It changes that limiting, often self-defeating statement into an open-ended question. It redirects your brain from hitting a dead end to entering problem-solving mode. It opens the door to solutions and creative ideas you might not have even considered before. Instead of closing off possibility, it cracks it wide open. Third, invest in experiences, not just things. Now, this might seem a bit counterintuitive when we're talking about wealth, but it's crucial for understanding what true abundance really feels like. Research, like from Dr. Thomas Gilovich at Cornell and many others, consistently shows that experiences bring much longer-lasting happiness and richer memories than just acquiring more material stuff. When we buy things, the joy is often pretty fleeting, right? Subject to that hedonic treadmill we mentioned, you get used to it fast. But experiences, they create lasting memories, they foster social connections, they actually contribute to our sense of identity. True abundance isn't about endless shopping, it's about richer living.
Building a life filled with meaning, connection, joy. It's about using your resources for things that genuinely enrich your life, not just accumulate clutter. And finally, number 4, embrace small wins first. It's really important not to fall into the trap of thinking that cultivating abundance means being reckless or taking huge, scary risks you're not ready for. It's actually quite the opposite. We want to build momentum, build that feeling of self-efficacy, that I can do this feeling. So encourage yourself to start with small, consistent financial wins. Maybe it's saving an extra $50 this week just by packing your lunch every day. Or maybe it's investing just $100 into a simple index fund instead of letting it just sit there in your checking account doing nothing. These small, consistent actions are so vital because they build momentum. They provide positive reinforcement. Each little win proves to yourself that you can take control, that you can grow your resources. It reinforces your belief in your own financial capability, and honestly, it tends to attract further success. For long-term change.
Those are all incredibly accessible, aren't they? And what's great is that they're impactful no matter where you're starting from. You don't need to be a millionaire already to practice gratitude or reframe a thought or make one small intentional investment. The key really is consistency, it sounds like. So what does this all mean for you, our listener, in your day-to-day life? Well, it means you have the power. You have the power to start this fundamental shift right now, today, with practices that actively reshape your internal landscape. And as we kind of broaden our perspective even further now, let's think about how adopting an abundance mindset impacts way more than just your bank account. It's truly a profound ripple effect. It touches pretty much every area of your life.
It really, really is. When you start to wholeheartedly embrace this mindset shift, you'll likely find your stress levels start to lower significantly. And that's because you stop obsessing over scarcity, right? Over what you don't have. That constant draining fear of not having enough starts to ease its grip. And that reduction in stress is just incredibly freeing. It impacts your physical health, your mental health. It's huge. Moreover, your relationships often improve pretty dramatically too, because envy and comparison, which are just so deeply rooted in scarcity thinking, they naturally begin to fade away. You find yourself becoming more generous, maybe more collaborative. You can genuinely celebrate other people's successes without feeling like it somehow diminishes you or threatens you. And perhaps most powerfully, your opportunities just seem to expand because you start saying yes more often. Yes to growth, yes to new possibilities, instead of hiding in fear, always trying to protect what you think you might lose. You become more open to learning. You become more resilient when you face setbacks, more innovative in how you approach challenges. And connecting this right back to the financial aspect, you begin to see money differently, not as this trap that limits you, but as a powerful tool, a resource, something to create value with, to solve problems with. You start to realize that money tends to flow toward value creation, and your job, your focus, becomes keeping on creating that value. This fundamentally changes your entire relationship with wealth. It transforms it from one based on anxiety and limitation to one based on purpose, potential, and even collaboration. This raises an important question, doesn't it? How much more could you actually achieve? How much more impact could you have if you started viewing money as like a supportive partner in reaching your biggest goals, rather than just a constant source of worry?
That is a fantastic thought to leave with us, a really powerful reframe on the very nature of money itself. Okay, so for you, our listener, here's today's challenge, a little experiment. Over the next 24 hours, just notice. Notice one moment where scarcity thinking pops up in your thoughts. Maybe it's small, maybe it's big. Just catch it. Acknowledge it's there, don't judge it. And then consciously choose to reframe it. Ask yourself, okay, what's actually possible here, even if I can't see it clearly yet? It's a small action, I know, but it's often where the most profound transformations really begin. Ultimately, I think the core takeaway from this deep dive is pretty clear. Wealth isn't just about the numbers in your account. It's fundamentally about your perspective, your deepest beliefs about what is possible for you. True abundance really begins the moment you decide to consciously shift your thinking and embrace that power of possibility.
And we really encourage you to reflect on that. What's one small abundance habit, maybe one we've talked about today, that you can start practicing? Maybe today, maybe right now, to begin that process of rewiring your financial mindset, whether it's that gratitude audit or reframing just one limiting thought or starting that tiny financial win, whatever it is, just take that first step. Keep building, keep growing, and keep climbing towards that abundant perspective. We really hope this deep dive has resonated with you and maybe empowers you just a little bit to unlock the wealth that truly does begin right there in your mind.